Old men does dream dreams, but young men see visions. I have seen a long chain of archipelago islands, and in my vision I heard a voice telling me it is the best choice for people of the region to choose, enjoy and rejoice. Rejoice! I asked the voice to identify who, what, when, where, how, and why. USWI is the answer, the voice reply. Which means if we come together as one big happy family, one aim, one goal, free trade, free movement, and one currency. If we pool wisdom and resources in our quest for sufficiency, Bomber, tell them your vision, please. The United States of the West Indies. Thank you. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. A mixture of race, class, color, and lingo, with a grace of cricket, football, steel band, and calypso. But still we need more fortune and fame in art and culture and sporting games. Internationally, we will get more worldly acclaims. Big names. The voice told me it is evident that we must have a strong government in the United States of the West Indies Parliament. Which means if we come together as one big happy family, one aim, one goal, free trade, free movement, and one destiny, our children and children's children will inherit our well-sown seeds. So Bomber, plead on your bended knees for the United States of the West Indies. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum. Great talents and skills all over the region, ancestral blessings and wills mixed with pride and passion. And as we believe in democracy, faith in God and tranquility, our people will prosper from now till eternity. Oh, gee, and when the job is well said and done, the motto is, all are we is one, with a West Indian emblem portraying the rising sun. Which means if we come together as one big happy family, one aim, one goal, free trade, free movement, and one currency. The voice told me, take this message, please, outlining all its amenities and saying, Mama, here are the golden keys to the United States of the West Indies. Go! Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. All right. St. Vincent, St. Kitts, Nevis and Anguilla, Cuba, Barbados, Martinique, Montserrat and Antigua, the Cayman Islands, Puerto Rico, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, Dominica, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Hispaniola, and so the Virgin Isles, Haiti if you please, Guyana and the Netherlands Antilles, Guadeloupe and the Bahamas, I'm begging you to tell them please. Where you go tell them if we come together as one big happy family, one aim, one goal, free trade, free movement, and one currency. All the nations will want to join us for economic stability. So Obama, make them an anthem, please, for the United States of the West Indies. Cuba, Barbados, Martinique, Montserrat of the West Indies. Go! Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. All right. St. Vincent, St. Kitts, Nevis and Anguilla, Cuba, Barbados, Martinique, Montserrat and Antigua, the Cayman Islands, Puerto Rico, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, Dominica, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Hispaniola, and so the Virgin Isles, Haiti if you please, Guyana and the Netherlands Antilles, Guadeloupe and the Bahamas, I'm begging you to tell them please. Where you go tell them if we come together as one big happy family, one aim, one goal, free trade, free movement, and one currency. All the nations will want to join us for economic stability. So Obama, make them an anthem, please, for the United States of the West Indies. And so the Virgin Isles, Haiti if you please, Guyana and the Netherlands Antilles, Guadeloupe and the Bahamas, I'm begging you to tell them please. Where you go tell them if we come together as one big happy family, one aim, one goal, free trade, free movement, and one currency. All the nations will want to join us for economic stability. So Obama, make them an anthem, please, for the United States of the West Indies.
God's gift to us, God's gift to us, and our gift to the world. The mighty bomber, one of the old timers, the United States of the West Indies. I am telling you, without malice, or with malice to none, the greatest music God has created is calypso, kaiso. Tell anybody I say so. I prefer, and I'm willing to argue that any time of day, any time of night. Happy CARICOM Day. Happy CARICOM Day. I had so many choices to play tonight, but I played that one by the mighty bomber, Clifton Ryan, born in Grenada, raised in Trinidad and Tobago. You know, a lot of them Caisonians in Trinidad, they're from Grenada, some from St. Vincent, a couple of them a lot of them from Tobago. We used to have a few from Guyana who went across there and so on. It's not just a Trini thing, you know. It's not just a Trini thing. It's a Caribbean thing. Good evening to all of you. It's the morning after. It's the morning after. The morning after. What a week! What a weekend! Guyana, our country, Guyana. Good evening to all of you. Quite a week. The morning after, GHK Lall is here to help us break it down. But my God, what a week, full of news, full of theater, full of politics, full of energy. Woo! Woo. A wonderful good evening to all of you where you're joining us from. And I want to say a special good evening to those of you in Guyana. I can't remember all the names. I can't remember all the faces. But you all know I was at the opening of the PNC Congress, and them boys said they would have thrown me out. They almost threw me out because they want to know why all the women, the PNC women, according to them, hugging up you, Dr. Hines. They overthrow me out the Congress place, but the ladies beg for me. I want to say, thank you to all of you, old, the young, and the men too, the men too, who welcomed me to Congress Place, and all of you whispered in my ears the various advice. Some of them I could make public, some of them I can't make public. I mean political strategy, political tactics, political advice. It was so wonderful catching up and putting faces to names, because I see some names here and then the faces, and some names here are you all know the thing good. Some the pseudonyms, and some of you say, well, this is the name I just be on the show, but this is my real name. I love being Guyanese. I hear people say, you know, he's you know, he don't like say Guyanese, he say African Guyanese and Indian Guyanese. I African Guyanese, because I ain't giving up Guyana to nobody. I ain't letting nobody tell me I mustn't say a black. Love being black. Love being Guyanese. Love being West Indian. You all know I don't leave out the West Indian story, because we are all of that. And of course, you Buxtonians, you all know I like being Buxtonian to death. God bless us with multiple identities. Why do we want to give them up? Because we want somebody to feel that we're not racist, we're not classist, we're not tribal. I love it. I'm Buxtonian. And when I'm in Buxton, they don't ask me why you're from Buxton. I say, what part of Buxton from? I'm from Buxton Bottom Station. I love being Guyanese. I'm Guyanese too. I'm African Guyanese and Caribbean and Black African. Good evening to you all and welcome. Welcome to the program tonight. We're going to be doing a lot tonight, as we always do. I spent some time earlier today at the Burnham Foundation annual brunch. You know, I missed last year, I think, or the year before. And Vincent saw me, I think it was Thursday at a conference, and he says, I run out a ticket, but make sure I print the ticket because you got to come. So I was there, spent a couple of hours today, again, meeting so many people, those of you who asked to take pictures, those of you who ask for a word with me. I love you all so much. And I have to, because without you all, we cannot do what we do. And it is good to know that there are people who tell me I don't miss a program. If I miss it by a couple of minutes, I'm still going back tonight and go back from the beginning. I think that we are on to something. Something is happening in our country, Guyana, and the weeks and the months coming are going to be interesting. Interesting. Many people want to know my views and so on and so forth. You all know I don't hold back. But sometimes when you don't know, you have to say, I don't know. I don't know. At the opportunity, I saw Aubrey Norton today. I had a chat with him over this week, the weekend. Look, certain things are not private for me, right? I had a couple of chats with Aubrey. I saw him earlier today at the Burnham Foundation function. As I was leaving, Amanza was coming in. I had a chance to chat with her for a couple of minutes. I haven't seen or heard from Roysdale, but I'll make sure I give him a call during this week. I haven't had an extensive conversation with Brother Nigel yet or Brother Sherrod. But you know, as I said last week on this program, look, this is a program by a WPA person, and so many people would quite rightly say, well, you know, it's a WPA program, but we want to set an example to the opposition, to the rest of the country, is that this thing is not you alone. All of we in this thing together, and I'm going to always open this platform to persons who share my vision, and even those who don't share all of my vision. So long as you want to see Guyana better, this platform is open. And if the PNC and the AFC were to do it all over again, I will provide this platform as I did last week for the leaders to come on here and to talk. Of course, you know, some of the ladies say, you give me leaders are hard questions, but the leader bat, you know, he had a broad bat, and you know that when he gets you, say, and they know they laugh too, you know, and so on. I have learned that last week. I didn't plan it months ago that I'm going to bring all the leaders on this program and interview them. It's the spirit, you know. I just walk with the spirit. That's why I know I'm an African. The African spirit just walk up in me, and these things just come, and they're all. And so many people were thankful for it, because they say it was in the chaos, in the cussing out, in all of that. We showed last week that we could come together. We could come together. I didn't set out to be a mediator, to be any of that. Like I said, it's just the spirit. It's just the Congo spirit, you know? The Koromanti spirit. The Yangadona. When you see Yangadona with your red, green, and gold, you better clear the way. Let she pass. Let she pass. It is spirit, you know? And we gotta be spiritual. We gotta be spiritual. I don't argue church and God, you know. I grew up in the English church, Anglican. And I still got to me English church, I still got to me Anglican. I don't argue about God. My story is very straight. Even if I were to make myself stupid and say, I don't believe in God, I believe God believe in me. Because there's some things that I have had the opportunity to do. If there wasn't a God or the higher being or the ancestors, I am sure I would have never gotten the opportunity to do. I've gotten more than was promised to me when I was a little boy running around in Buxton. So I don't worry about God. As I said, even if I make myself stupid and say, I don't believe in God, God believes in me. I think so. And I don't make a difference between God and the ancestors and the Christian God and the African God and so on. Africans got multiple gods. God for sun, God for water, God for the moon, God for the earth. You ever see when them spiritual people doing what they call our nation walk? That just bring up the Amerindian spirit. They will bring up the Chinese spirit. They will bring up Portuguese spirit, the African spirit, the European white man spirit. African people doing African work. They call it all nation work. And they're bringing up all. That is why when people tell me that black people are racist, I got some that time you racist, they don't know what they are talking about. Yes, go to an African spiritual service and they bring up all the spirits. Good evening to you all. We're going to talk one of these days about spiritualism. 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 We're ready to roll. You see, I don't do race like other people. I don't do race by denying race. I don't do race by saying, always one, we ain't got thing. I do race by saying race is real. But I talking about a positive race, not talking about negative race. I talking about racial pride, not racism. That's not what I'm talking about. And when I say to black people that I want you all to get right, and that I dedicating a big chunk of my time in this time to deal with black people issue, is not to make black people better than other people. It's to make black people better than we are right now. You all hear me? And you can only be better than you are right now if you know who you are. Black man, know thyself. Because if you don't know yourself, you can't know nobody else. Nobody else. When I meet an Indian brethren or an Amerindian sisterin, I meet them on equal keel. I meet them as an African who's proud as the tree the axeman cannot tumble. I'm quoting there Martin Carter. And that is why I can respect them. They can belong to the PPP. They can belong to whoever they belong. It don't bother me. It don't bother me. Identity. Happy CARICOM Day. Because we are West Indian too. Before we became Guyanese, we were West Indian and Caribbean. Them slave plantation, they were not Guyanese slave plantation or Barbadian slave plantation. Them come later. Them slave plantation were the slave plantations of what they call the so-called New World. And these islands and the mainland states, they call them, well, the lion man came, and Yelas, he was going to the east, Yelas and Lanove, and since he realized he Yelas, he called the island them West Indies, because he Yelas, and he met some Carib people, you know, the Caribs and Arawaks and the other indigenous tribes were here, and it's out of the Carib name that Caribbean come. So West Indies and Caribbean been wrong long, before Guyana, before Barbados. So we are Guyanese, but we're also West Indies. We're also Caribbean. It's no accident that one of the things that we beat the rest of the world in, we did so as West Indians. And you all know a time of cricket, 20 year. Poorest cricketing nation. The longest any team dominate a team sport in the history of humankind. You all put that in your pipe, smoke it, and tell your children that that's where you come from. That's where you come from. When Rohan, Babulal, Kanai of East Indian descent, but purely West Indian, when he lie down on his back and he hooked the ball out of the ground, he invented a stroke. He invented, or Vivian Richards with a swag and his red, green, and gold band take a ball from 3 stump outside the off stump after they put 9 people on the offside and flick it. Eye and the heart coordination. What he's saying, if you lock the gate for me there, I open over this side. You can only do that if you're West Indian. You can only do that if you're West Indian. So I'm telling you all here, be all your identities. Don't let anybody tell you, you're not African Guyanese or you're not Indian Guyanese, you're Guyanese. Tell them you're Scraven. You want all the identities. Good evening. Welcome to all of you and all my friends I met at Congress Place and at the Burnham Foundation today. I can't remember all the names. I can't remember all the faces, but I remember all the moments. And some of you are on the show tonight because you all tell me you are going home early for pad up, because that man will coming on tonight. The Indian man, Dr. Hinds, in a 3 cents. The Indian man, in a 3 cents. I mean, no. But me, I tell you, the Indian man is not 3 cents. It's called the gratefulness factor. These people don't understand about Caribbean people of all races. We are always grateful when somebody who is not naturally in our camp, but can feel our pain and align themselves with us. If you're Indian, you're grateful for it. If you're African, you're equally grateful. And it's a gratefulness factor. It's part of our culture. And those people who deny race, I don't know what kind of planet they are. I don't care what GHK Lall said about whether he's Indian or not Indian. I'm telling you that they got over 300 and something thousand African who like him because he's Indian. Whether he want to accept it or not, that's his story. They like him because he's Indian. He's an Indian man who's prepared when an Indian dictator is marauding the land, he stand up and say, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And when his African brothers and sisters are crying in the wilderness, when they're being crucified on the cross, he's there with them weeping. Weeping. It's an element of our politics that is so powerful. If the damn fools who say race don't exist can't see it. Can't see it. Can't see it. I don't like talk too much about Indians. You all know that. And the reason I don't like to talk about it because I don't want to get into the whole mode when I got Indian friends. But Indian people just talk to me too. And they just tell me things too. I don't walk with it on me badge and say, I'm going to look for Indian votes. Because that's not my politics. My politics don't start with the vote. My politics start with the human. Starts there. The votes will come. Start with your humanity. I love you all. Good evening, Emily. Good evening, Denise. Albert, Morgan, good evening, all of you, all of you, all of you. And thanks for the confidence. Thanks for the confidence that is being shown. I think we're ready to roll. Brother Gabriel, good evening. Happy CARICOM Day.
Good evening to you and happy CARICOM Day to everyone. Good to be here.
Always a pleasure to have you on, my brother. And as I said in my introduction, I just go so when the naysayers going so. And as you listen to the mighty bomber doing the United States of the West Indies, replete with a salute. Oh boy, what says thou?
Well, the first word in that USWI is unity. When we are one, we are unbeatable. I mean, statement of fact, that is simply unchallengeable. And that has been our weakness, our downfall, that others, whether internally or from the outside, have come and capitalized on. Our lack of pride in ourselves. Thank you for that rousing beginning, by the way. our lack in our pride in ourselves in terms of our identity, in what we bring to the table, in what we bring historically, culturally, intellectually, and from the heart, soulfully, soulfully. I mean, you can't repress that. There's some efforts to repress those elements in us, and they are getting nowhere because the more you repress, the more they regress. We get stronger. The more you try for walk on me, is the more rising up. So I heard him about unity, and we are still struggling for that elusive goal that keeps getting away from us. But we can't give up. I heard the mighty bomb, and I can't believe it was whilst I wasn't here, but I didn't lose track of those. And can't believe it's 34 years, 33, 34 years since he came out with that. And it still has all that application to all those countries and all those citizens from each one of them, you and me, and all our listeners and those not listening on this CARICOM day. If we have that, we are not only good for tourism, but we are good for towering over our times.
Be good for towering over our times. And Gabriel, you have been witnessing the run up to the Congress of the PNC and the conference of the AFC and everything that comes in this silly season. And then this weekend, both parties announce their leaders. Nigel Hughes emerging as the leader of the Alliance for Change, and Aubrey Norton regaining the leadership of the People's National Congress. Lots of theater, lots of philosophy, lots of murmurs, lots of arguments, lots of cussing out. It had everything, everything, everything. And you have been writing away. I changed, I shared one of your pieces, the first piece you did on Nigel Hughes, the Comedy Man, I think you said. And I shared it widely from my webpage, and it's one of the most widely read pieces on my webpage ever. So there is resonance there. And you wrote another piece on Aubrey Norton this morning. So, well, you wrote it before I saw it yesterday. Um, so you've been thinking about these things. What if someone were to come from outer space and land in Guyana today, the morning after, and you had the task of explaining what happened in our country politically over the last week? What would you tell that being?
Well, I'll tell them, and I'm telling you, our listeners here tonight, that we are at a defining moment. We are at a defining moment. We are at that crossroads where we've got to make decisions. We've got to take stands. And we have got to be about what lifts us out of the chaos and disorder in which we find ourselves because of a callous government. Because of a callous government that has got unprecedented wealth in its hands, not at its fingertips, in its hands, and which it has used to whip Guyanese into shape, and it's failing at that. It is good to see, it was good to read about and hear of those folks, 2,000 or 1,300 or whatever it was at the People's National Congress gathering. It was good to hear of the hundreds, 200 plus, at the AFC gathering. And they raised their hands and said, we want our brother Nigel, the AFC, to be there, and we want Aubrey Norton to lead us forward. These two men have been given mandates by their respective groups. Nigel got 70% of the vote, just over 70%, 149 out of 211 for the leadership. Aubrey Norton got 97+%, 1040 out of 1066. That's not a landslide. That's a tsunami, Brother David. That's a tsunami of approval. That wipes away any dissent. Now, the naysayers may say that, well, is it 2,000? Is it 1,066? Or is it 1,568 that voted for, I think, the two vice chairmen, chairperson position? Regardless of that, let's take the PNC first. To our outer space visitor, I have to say that almost 3 years ago in December, I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, Brother David, on December 19th, 2021, Aubrey Norton, against the odds, prevailed by 75% of the vote. 75%, 3 out of 4,
Yeah.
against some really stalwart People's National Congress heroes and members, leaders. He prevailed then. And he has had an uphill task from that time because of internal party dynamics. I don't want to talk about that here. He's got a bigger charge today. 97, I think, 0.5 or 6% of the people who voted for leader. He's the man. Why? In Aubrey Norton's hands, this imaginary creature, this UFO from outer space, has been placed the power and the authority to speak for these people from across Guyana. And what do we have now? We have unprecedented wealth. And he talks the right things, cost of living. We've got to get relief. We've got to get relief for the multitudes of Guyanese that are crying in the wilderness that is so barren. That's not scriptural. That is not spiritual. That is physical. And that is psychological. That's in the belly. Daily. Every 3 square that comes up. And if they get 1 square, they're lucky. In the richest country in the world, Brother Aubrey spoke about cost of living. He's talking about, and both leaders, let's put them together. Both leaders, we've got to do something about that. We've got to get money into people's hands. We've got to get an equitable distribution. We've got to get poverty amelioration. Let's break that down. Poverty reduction. And the only way, from my perspective, and this is where people may find fault with me, but we got to speak our mind here. The only way we're going to get an enlargement of the participation by every Guyanese in the social part of the pie is that what comes to us must be enlarged. The portion of the patrimony that comes to us must be enlarged. And that line has to be drawn not in sand, but in stone, and if it's necessary, in blood. It must be drawn from now. From now. Aubrey Norton spoke about 100 days. I hear him. First 100 days. I need that signal from him from now. Nigel Hughes spoke about, well, if I am president, and he's got some hurdles ahead of him, and I understand the conditional. He's an attorney. He's a very wise man. If I am then I will deal with this. But I think he needs to give a stronger indication to the people of this country, especially those people who believe in him, and those people who are sitting on the fence. And there are many, because they are so disillusioned and disgruntled by what is going on with the incumbents who have the reins of power, economic power, in their hands. There is low-hanging fruit. And I think that the signal has got to be here that the tangibles of this oil wealth, I am going to move with concrete action. And I'm telling you that from now. And if I've got to sever my Exxon relationship, then so be it. Guyana comes first. Guyanese come first. you are taking this program on for years before me, Brother David, and you've taken a lot of flack, and flack is part of our existence. And I am on this program, and I'm in this country. I'm back in this country as opposed to the flesh pots of Wall Street to share with, as you said it repeatedly, the pain of my people. And I ain't running for office. The pain of my people. And I ain't no missionary. Their pain is my pain. And here's the story: sacrifices have got to be made. And we've got to speak in a clear voice. And we've got to speak in a loud voice. And we've got to let our oppressors know, our internal oppressors and our external oppressors, that, hey, we ain't gonna take it no more. Just today, one of the senior men in Exxon spoke and said, this is one of the greatest developments in the history, deep water developments in the history of the oil industry. We are the people, our wealth, the wealth of your people, Brother David, which is my people, who sweated and cried and died. That the wealth of my people, my ancestors who were a ring in their nose and a ring around their feet, the women, they gave on the estates, plantations, estates. Good Lord, this thing has come to us by the grace of Almighty God. You and whoever I want can talk about geology and nature and whatever. By the grace of God and divine providence, it is ours. And where is it? Where is it? Where is it in the tangibles in my hand? Where is it in the tangible of the pensioner hand and the public servant's hand? The public servants and the teachers. Why are our teachers being made, are experiencing their noses rubbed into the dust? Are they not citizens of this republic? Are they not people? What lesson do we want to teach them in this time of plenty? This is where my brothers, and I think they have spoken, but they've got to speak with more power and passion on these issues. They have got to take the lead in this and be. Yes, it's industrial, and yes, it's a conciliatory process. And this is just one of the elements in this society that is so disparate that we are talking about and that we have got to get done right. I hear about client. The G20 countries, following a US directive, says the minimum you must charge these people is 15%. And we are giving, which is money should be coming to us. And we are giving these people a 25% tax credit so they can go to the IRS in the United States and say, look what we get from Guyana. What is the Guyanese people getting here? I want to know if that UFO, that man from outer space that you put in my lap and on my head, if he understands what I'm talking, if he's got a full grasp of where I am going with this as a Indian Guyanese, as a black Guyanese, and excuse me, I take that from on myself, and as an Amerindian Guyanese, I punish him. Are you telling me that I'm one of the greatest underwater deep water discoveries in the history of the oil industry, and I punish him? What the hell are you telling me? Why? How long more? And if that got echoes of people from 50 years ago, 70 years ago, it is. How long more must we wait? This is what I am telling every Guyanese here today. And I think that is what the delegates at the AFC gathering and the delegates at the PNC assembly said to Brother Nigel Hughes and Brother Aubrey Norton in their respectively. They have got great trust placed in the palm of their hands. They must grasp it, run with it, and carry us with it. Not just PNC people and AFC people, but carry the Guyanese people, black people, Amerindian people, Indian people, and mixed people, and whatever else they have besides that. They must carry that, and they must instill, they must imbue in the people who don't listen to them, who don't have the time of day for them, and say, these people can be different. These people are different. These people hold the key to the destiny that I think that this patrimony holds for me, then I'm the richest. Then I've made the first step in being the richest, one of the richest person in the world by head and per capita and all that business. I think, I think it's time that we put substance to those statistics. It is time that we give energy to those estimates. I think it's time that we give power, economic power, in the hands of the people to those expert projections.
GSK Lall here tonight, doing it as only he does it. Really speaking truth to power. GHK, um, if you go beneath the surface, there are some uncomfortable things that these developments this past weekend are will force us to come to grips with. The old issue of the well-to-do people and the masses have arisen, has arisen. Everyone knows that Nigel Hughes' um, parents came out of the ghetto a little bit earlier than Aubrey Norton's parents, and that's how one of my mentors, Rex Nettleford, used to say, "We all came from the ghetto. It's just that some came out a little bit earlier than some. We call them the middle class, and some come out much later. We call them the ghetto people or the working class people." But that issue of class has arisen. Nigel coming from um, a family of a little more privileged, some would say, a lot more privileged than Aubrey's family. And so um, that issue staring us in the face, because at the end of the day, if the opposition is going to go forward, as you have said, they have to go forward together, as a coalition, as a united team. And then the issue, who is going to be the number one man, the top man, because the Constitution, I think unwisely, asks the contestants to put forward a top man. And already tongues are wagging, passions are being inflamed in some instances. The old arguments of color, class, and country versus tongue, which school you've been to, and so on. Um, all those issues have come up. Much ado about nothing, or is it real issues that we have to confront?
Well, we've got to confront them. If we leave them alone, all we're doing is sweeping them under the carpet and they just fester there. I think we've got to, like you said earlier in your introduction, and I think you keep saying it, we cannot deny race, we cannot ignore race, and we cannot pretend that it does not play the extensive part that it does in our environment, the passions that it generates in our hearts and in our political firmament. Now, who came out of the ghetto earlier? But did you leave the ghetto behind?
Ah, ah,
Remember, we say, you've said it, and I've said it, and others I'm sure have said it. We must never forget our roots. But we mustn't be that pig who dress in a suit, who they dress up in a suit, and we still is a damn pig. Can I say that? But I just said it anyway, right? We still is a pig. Here's the story. I think we've got to show ourselves to be a people that are maturing, a people that are above certain pettifoggery, right? Certain stupidities. But you just don't wash them away like that and dismiss them. I think Nigel has said, Brother Nigel has said, I'm at the disposal of the Guyanese people. I am ready to lead. He has signaled where he has stood. I think the People's National Congress, via Brother Aubrey, has said Well, look, and that resolution that came up, that resolution that came out says, well, they got to be a PNC person, he or she. And he has been vested with the authority. He's been given that mandate solely to speak to that issue here. Now, let's face it, what is good for Guyana? I think it will be presumptuous on my part to say who's better or who's what. What is good for Guyana here? A candidate that can stir the hearts, a leadership candidate that can stir the hearts of your own people, which I think is a foregone conclusion, and reach across the divide, picking up those who are sitting on the fence. The Americans call them, I love that expression, and David, you should know this, mugwumps. They mug out one side of the thing and they rump and the other side of the fence. Mugwumps. I think Guyanese need to get familiar with that one. So you've got those on the fence, and those are on the other side that are not stragglers, but they are disgruntled. We've got a lot of Guyanese people, look, to be frank, that I give a little hand to, that is a momentary help, and they are hurting as to whether they are sufficiently hurt to say, I am out here, but these people are going to try something new or whatever. That remains to be seen. But I think we have to get past this issue of fair skin and high yellow and high yellow, as the people in Louisiana, New Orleans, they say, and high and cafe au lait, and who has a program, who has the heart, who brings the inspiration that will lift us out of this muck and quagmire in which we have been stuck. Look, Nigel has been talking about togetherness. He said, look, and I am ready for this and that and the other. That's music to my ears. And Aubrey has been speaking about, hey, listen, we've got to have change. And we are not happy with the way things are in this country. Everybody knows that. The PPP knows that. The president knows that. He may deny, he may live on his fantasy island, but he is hiding, burying his head in the sand. The vice president may engage in his dodges and his drifts and whatever, but at the end of the day, he knows that he is in trouble. And I think he's looking at these guys and saying to himself, I am shaky, and I think I just got a bit shakier here. So it's imperative that the opposition stop thinking along those lines about here's what it comes down to. Who will take us to the promised land? Who will make for a better Guyana? What is it? What attributes with our collective heads put together will guide us there? Of course, we've got to face the realities of Guyana. And David, I've got to bring this in. Listeners and viewers, I've got to bring this in. The optics. It's a numbers game at the end of the day. It's a numbers game. I look at the AFC slate and I see one kind of face. I look at the top positions in the PNC construction as officially announced, and I see one kind of face. I am the last man in this country that will be about tokenism. But I'm certain that if you are going to put together a wise position as to where you stand, then you're going to have some people from the other sections of the demographic in this country. There's no denying that. Look, we're dealing with real politics here. We're not dealing with textbooks. So therefore, we're going to have to address that. It should have been addressed already. And the last thing I want to hear is that the vice president saying, well, we are the only multi-ethnic this and that in this country. Something is going to have to be done to deal with that head on. So whoever is going, the leadership right now is up there. Who's going to carry us forward? Can the PNC by itself? I think the numbers speak. Will the AFC be a part of a combined slate, or will it be in its original form? We are going to contest this alone. If they contest this alone and they get several seats, they have an opportunity to be, in my mind, spoiler, difference maker, kingmaker. The parliament now hinges on where they stand. You're the political scientist here, but I think in a very rudimentary form that I have put it there as I see it and as I think this thing is going to play out. I think some tough decisions are going to be made. I don't think, I think those things that you spoke about, unfortunately, are going to play. And and the delegates have spoken. That resolution resonates. It says, you are the one anointed. You are the soul. You in your hands rest the, the the authority, the sole authority to determine what is it going to be from here. And I think the sentiment is that it should be a PNC person, right? Look, you and I are. I think you are not, may not be so tarnished. We didn't been here. I ain't been here, right? So this is you're a comebacky, right? You're a comebacky. Let's talk about this soberly. So really, you didn't know what is going on, and you can't really identify with the issues here and so on and so. Well, I take offense at that. I take serious offense at that. But be that as it may, we all have a part to play. Do we want a woman president? I think the groundwork should be laid for that. Could we be mature enough and responsible enough and bright enough, my brother, bright enough to consider an indigenous president or a mixed president? Let me put it this way, and I'll speak very delicately here. Before it became fashionable, we have had a specially oriented president. I hope everybody understands what I mean by that. And we've had a foreign born president. And we got to get, and so I'm saying that in 2024, go back to where we started. We are at this crossroads that if we get bogged down with things like, then we are falling right into the trap of our exploiters, our exploiters and our oppressors, internal and external, because we are too busy fighting each other. We become part of the crab barrel that seems to be the only existence that we not only know, but that we relish. That we relish. Why are we even talking about this? Why are we even talking about this when we are at this crucial time in our history? The world is talking about how rich we are, Brother David. Why am I talking about how black you are? You're talking about how bald I am or dumb I am or whatever. Look, these are not philosophical questions. They're not rhetorical. They are very, very real. We should be talking about how do we gird our hips and how do we gather our strength to combat the evils that are trying to bury us alive into the ground. How do we stand up and speak with one voice, united mighty bomber, we're all mighty bombers here, and to say, this land is my land, that wealth is my land, and this is how we're going to go about it to get what belongs to not just me, because I want nothing, and you don't want nothing, but here what we want, what is best for the people in this country that don't have a voice, that don't have power, that wouldn't even know what to do with power if they were to have it in their hands. So they look on people like you and Aubrey and Nigel and those that are really sitting there, and they truly have been disappointed in those that they have upstairs Instead of running the race for us, you're trying to run over us. They're listening to this program here. Instead of running the race for us, for do better for we, they're trying to run over we. So how come that a program like this, or people like me and you and others, before and after, we have become, we have been transformed into enemies. For what? For saying all Guyanese must get a piece of this pie, a fair piece, the rightful piece. Come on, man. And that is where I say that Brother Nigel and Brother Aubrey has got to make their priorities. I can only tell them what I think. They, at the end of the day, will have to be the ultimate decision makers, having gathered all the competing components in before them and say, well, this is what I do not know. I do not know, color aside, education aside, how we cannot speak about this patrimony that is so much of our economy, and everything hinges on our economy, our quality of life, our standard of living. Forget about the economic distinction. And how we look upon ourselves as a people and the dignity in which we live. I don't want to see one single black Indian, Amerindian, mixed Guyanese go to the market and say, how much for that? And then have to turn their face away. Or the children go home to them and say, despite all the grant and the this and the that and whatever, and go home to them and say, well, where you got for we eat, mama? And they got to tell them, well, we ain't got nothing by. Where you carry to school was all we got. So we ready. So you're telling me we done for the day? Yes, we done for the day. But what about tomorrow? Well, we can't deal with tomorrow today. Are we really the richest people, or are we the dumbest people around here? Where we got all this wealth beneath our feet, and we got people running rockets over we head? Huh? So why are we talking about color? Why are we talking about class? Why are we talking about education? Why are we talking about who's the fittest? Yes, we need to determine for ourselves what program, what politician, what patriot is going to take us over that finish line and be in a position to stand up for us and tell the white man, hey, listen, well, we're going to talk now. Are you going to talk my language? I ain't talking you language no more, right? You're going to talk my language because you want this aisle even more than I need it, right? Yes, it means a lot to me, but here's the bottom line. You got so much idle projects going on. Your earnings per quarter, EPS, the Wall Street analysts looking for it. And it depends a whole hell of a lot on what come out of this. The cheap oil, the high quality oil. And here's this. If something happens, we delay a project, we renegotiate no contract, so let me get done. But you want this new one, you don't have to do them so. You want this happening tomorrow, it can cost you so much. And there is a whole set of ideas that have coalesced around those, and that say, and by the way, we're now starting to talk, so let's get this straight. This conversation is continuing. And so, how do we find it in ourselves, or even concern ourselves with limiting ourselves, with defeating ourselves by talking about who is fairer than whom, and who been around longer than who, and who blacker than who, and who could, if I can make the expression, who could pee further than who? What nonsense is that in this time? We
Well,
better find it time to recognize that unless we seize the moment now, unless we make all those things happen, do something with this patrimony to make all those things happen that we are thinking about and we are putting on the table: poverty amelioration, cost of living relief, fair sharing, rightful sharing, and so on and so forth. And with a clean mind, with a mind towards doing something about corruption, this corruption beast that devouring us. we ain't going nowhere.
We're not going nowhere. Gabriel, you hinted at some things that I think give point to the answer to the questions you're raising, the rhetorical questions you're asking. And you point to those who make up the top echelons of the PNC executive that just concluded. They all look like me, black like me. You go across to the AFC, you look at those who make up the top, they all look black like me. You go across to the PNC, the PPP, and you look at the top 15. I even want to go to the top 30 or something. They all look like you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That is the cruel, some way say, that is the stark reality of Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
I think to begin to answer the questions that you are raising, one has to first acknowledge that.
Mm-hmm.
African people are saying we want to organize in our clusters. Indian people are saying we want to organize it, and we want to see faces like us at the top of our organization. And African people, they're not crazy. They're not crazy. They are sending a message to us leaders, right? The challenge for me, and I want you to comment on this, is not so much about whether we are talking about race and class and so on, because those things are real. It is what we do with the race and class that we have. If the PNC, the PPP, and the AFC were to come together, they will create that rainbow that we all dream of. All right? That rainbow cannot be manufactured. The people have said this is how we want to organize. We want to organize in our silos. We want to organize as Africans. We want to organize as Indians, right? And I think the answer to the question is what the leaders do with that mandate. And if the leaders use that mandate in order to present a national outlook, I think our people will not have to talk about race and class anymore. They're talking about race and class in order to say this is where we there. This is where we there.
And this is where you must there.
Identify, because identity is a real thing. Mm-hmm. I don't think by electing an all African top state in the PNC and the AFC and an all Indian top state in the PPP that they're saying we want to be racist. I think they're saying we want to be united, but we want to be united as real people, real groups who respect our identity. And we give you leaders the mandate to do something with that collective identity. Am I going crazy?
No, you're not. No, you're not. And I'm glad that you raised that. And I'm glad you took that up. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We organize around our own. And we are right to do so. But we also got to be realistic, Brother David. The PPP has that numerical edge. So it gets there with its slate. And here's what is happening. We can organize as much as we want. We, being Black Guyanese, we can organize as much as we want and build our teams around ourselves. But we don't want in a democratic polity, and let me bring that word in a democratic polity, to be always coming in second. Yes, the mandate has been given to our leaders, and the Indians have given in the 15 to their leaders in the PPP. And I must commend you for saying and putting it on the table is what the leaders do with it. Because people may second guess them here or in the street, but at the end of the day, this is where we are going, and the people will follow the leaders in terms of here. How we been going separately, it ain't working. Right? Because we will always have this dissension. We'll have this dissatisfaction that leaves us worse than before we had oil. right? And I keep forcing this thing into the conversation. We've got it now, so the expectations are high. The expectations are high. And yes, the organizations are around these silos, but we've got to connect these silos. And who are the leaders willing to do this? I think Nigel Hughes has signaled, hey, listen, Mr. President, I am here. And my hand is, where are you? I think that the PNC has spoken before about shared, and that word seems to be a curse word in this country.
Yeah.
Mr. Granger spoke about it, shared, but every time that comes up, it's slapped down. It is slapped down because we got the numbers, we are in charge, and we get to decide. So I don't know, for the sanity of this country, and I'm saying it very tactfully, uncharacteristically, I'm saying it very tactfully. I don't know, for the sanity of this country, how long something like this can keep going on the way that it is. Look, people may not want to talk about it, but the fact is there is a tremendous groundswell of resentment in this country because of the perception and the experience and the encounters of the inequity in this society. The fact that, let's leave the AFC out, hold them out at the side here. The fact that after all the differences in the PNC, that Aubrey Norton, Mr. Aubrey Norton, Brother Aubrey, could still emerge how he did, where he did, and at the level that he did, and we're talking numbers here now, says something that, hey, buddy, hey, our brother, our leader, that we in happy at all with how things there, and we looking to you for deal with this thing. We put in, again, I repeat from before, we putting our trust in your hands to work within the system, to look at your program and recalibrate it and redo this and whatever, street and conversations and coalitions, etc., and put together the best platform that gives us a shot to change the way things are. I mean, that's telling. Look, that may be lost in the conversations, but remember I said 75% in 2021 in December. This year, 97%. However that is seen or viewed, 97%. Look. The end of the day, Aubrey Norton, when it was 2,000, 1,300, I think he would have emerged the winner, and not by a slim margin, because I happen to know this. He did a lot of work behind the scenes and on the ground. In other words, he campaigned long before the Congress came up. He was out there doing what he did. So therefore, he shook hands and he pressed the flesh and he said, listen, hey, look, I know they got some impatience with me and some disagreement with me and so on and so forth. But look, this is where they're, and this is where I'm thinking of going and how I want to get there. And so the delegates came and say, well, look, when we look around, it's you's the man. And you are Moses. You got to carry me there. And now this is where he is. This is where he is by a clear margin. You factor in everything else, I think he still came out ahead. He still came out ahead, and that says a whole world of things. And he's got to be a whole world of difference. He's got to make that happen.
Let me take you further on this issue, Gabriel, because you're right. I mean, I went there at the opening, and I observe. I look around. I look at emotions. I look at the faces. I look at the body language. I listen to what people are saying, what they said to me, and so on. There's no doubt those PNC delegates and members and so who showed up there, they showed up showing solidarity with Aubrey Norton. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt over the AFC side that the majority of those delegates stayed up there to parachute, to raise Nigel Hughes to the top of the leadership of the AFC. But I think that that is on the surface and maybe beneath the skin. But as you go deeper down, you are going to encounter some complexities. I have a theory about, and I don't know the Indian Guyanese community or the Amerindian Guyanese community as well. But I think I know more about the African Guyanese community. I think I think they're the majority of African Guyanese. If you were to cut them, and the blood can show you which candidate that they're for. There is some in each of us. There is some Nigel blood. There is some Aubrey blood, and I'm reliably informed that there is even a little bit of David Hines blood in there too. Right?
Mhm.
And I think even as the leaders are anointed, if they don't understand that dynamic, that there are there are two levels at which our people are operating. They're operating at the tribal level as they must, right? PPP, sorry, PNC, AFC, WPA, what else? But then they're operating at the level of what you call their interests. They're getting beat up. They're getting devoured every day. And they have to operate at that pragmatic level. So there is a tribal level, and then there's a pragmatic level. Now, I ain't talking here about who is going to emerge as the consensus candidate and all that thing yet. All I'm saying that I think the African instinct is much more complex than meets the eye. We are correct about what we see happened. They rallied around Aubrey. They rallied around Mr. Hughes. But I think when you peel the skin away a little bit, you will find something a little bit more complex. Over to you.
Well, yes, indeed. There's no question. Look, I'm sure that a number of people, a number of those delegates, maybe most of them, had to have some inner turmoil. Maybe not deep inner turmoil, but they had some inner conflicts. Turmoil might be too strong. And they say, look, who is the one? Our position is hard as individuals, as communities, as a people. And we're talking about the tribe here, okay? We're talking about the segment. Let's be frank. And the other man ain't gonna do it. But who gonna do it best for we? And who is not going to let the other people, the other side, determine their program and our destiny? And so the way that, however they do that, with their family, they pray, they meditate, whatever, and they say, you know what? And some with the gut, viscerally, and some with the gut just say, here, Aubrey's me man, and Nigel is me guy, right? And so that's where that is. And so their expectations are high. Again, I go back to where we started, and I said, look, we are at this place in our existence because here, we'll be there a year from elections, a year, a couple months, however that pans out. So there's a lot of work ahead to do, but the energy and the vitality that these guys bring, some of the same people who vote for them, say, hey man, you're going too slow, or you're going too soft, or something of that nature, right? But I mean, that's part of the political formula. So, but they've got to say, look, we trust in, and we got for left, and we got for the land. I mean, let me make this spiritual. You're a believer. You do not have the things right. Penance, you pray, you do good works. You say, why you make time so hard, man? Lord, what's wrong to me? You forget me? Why are you getting all these blows? But this is where the mystery of our faith comes in. You know, the mystery of our faith comes in. So in politics, it's the same thing. I mean, you're dealing in human terms here and say here, Aubrey is the guy that we raise we have for Nigel, and them is the one who got for carry we. And you know what? We are here to carry them in their moments of indecision and in their moments of weaknesses. And they are human and they are entitled to that. They are entitled to that. Look, we ain't creating supermen here, right? We're not we've got to manage our expectations. We've got to manage our assessments of these men and and understand the context in which they operate and the wider one. We're talking the local context to a great extent here. We go beyond that and to the fact that we are a hotbed of foreign interests here now, physically present and Washington D.C. present. So we got to be cognizant of that too. So they're not operating in a vacuum in a PNC silo alone or a AFC tent. So that complexity that we are not really touching upon here. That complexity has to be massaged, has to be kneaded through till you arrive at some dough that will get some taste to it. This is where the people are. Look, how long are you gonna squeeze a people and tell them, look how good you got, we got you. Look how good you there. Eh? And when the inequity in our society is so pronounced, I mean that, look, it's undeniable now. And the foreigners are not saying anything. They're left me for fight we own battles with myself. And I don't know how 2025 elections are going to play out, but I can tell you that I think that the Americans and my all the things that I get, the Americans are very, very unhappy with the incumbents, and that's a golden opportunity for the guys whose election, whose new offices we are talking about. Not only them, but their teams and the people who have put them where they are. Well, look, the realities are new, the dynamics are ever changing, and the adjustments have got to be in step, maybe if not ahead. And so we've got to get past this parochial politics. We've got to get past our our ancient handicaps about whatever it is. These things are very, very deep, and we're not going to cover them here on this program. We can allude to them, we can touch upon them, we can, stir them up a bit, but they are longer and deeper conversations. But I say, look, the people have spoken. You is the one, and you is the one. They now got to step up, stand out, step up, and lead the way forward.
Stand up, step up, and lead the way forward. GHK Lall here tonight. We are discussing our politics, the events of our politics over the last week, culminating this weekend in the Congress of the People's National Congress, the conference of the AFC. Questions are raised, challenges are put on the table. Politics is not for the faint-hearted. Hopefully, we have gone past all the acrimony, the rancor, and all of that negative, dirty stuff. And we've moved into the era now where we have to think it through. Surely the people have put their hands, and I'm talking here about the base, opposition base. They've put their hands on Norton's head. And they've put the other arm around the shoulder of Nigel Hughes. And I think they have some space for people like me there for them to put that arm around our shoulders, and they put their hand on the head of Norton. They have shown us the way. They have shown us the way. And we have to take that and make something out of it. We are a conky people. The majority of us on the opposition side, I'm talking about African people, we're a conky people. We know when we put that corn flour and the sugar, and we put a little bit of meche inside, and we wrap it in that banana leaf or plantain leaf, and we boil it. We know what comes out of that is the conky. the real deal. Our leaders have to now take the corn flour, the cornmeal, whatever you all call it, take the sugar, take the little coconut, take all the meche that you all give them, and to make some serious concrete out of it. This is not the time for us to be cussing down as we did over the last month. This is time for us to push our leaders and say, we give you all something to work with. We want you all to walk this thing. And Gabriel, I note that the resolution came out of the PNC. It says that the leader of the PNC shall be the presidential candidate of the PNC. He's mandated to be that. But they also give him the mandate to negotiate with others. It's a very clever, very clever resolution. People look at it and they see what they want to see, they hear what they want to hear. But I think that resolution gives some space for the leader to work with. Your thoughts?
Well, let's go about this backwards. The last thing you said first. It is very direct. It's very specific, but it's also very flexible.
There you go.
He's got, in a nutshell, that's it. He said, you are the one. You is the presidential candidate. However, if in your wisdom and in your best judgment that you need to be flexible and it's going to be somebody other than you, you have our blessing. You have our authority to do so. So it's it's got specificity as to him, and it's got flexibility. Going back to what you said, and I want to close this on. I think we are very close to that now.
Yes.
I want to say this. At the individual level, the delegates have shown that they were able to overcome their psychic differences, their internal differences about this candidate, particularly Mr. Aubrey Norton. He now, and Nigel Hughes, sorry, my apologies, and Nigel Hughes, after the run-up with Brother Sherrod, whom I really don't know, they now have to show that they can work to knit the differences and draw people in, including those who may not have been for them. So only, you remember what the man said, the mighty bomber, united. So they go forward as united groups, and then as a united whole. I think the prospects for the future just look a little different, if not much different.
Much different. GHK Lall, we shall be depending on you as usual as we navigate the coming weeks. I think you have helped this program tremendously. I know you have said publicly that there are people who told you were coming in to the ghetto of ghettos in coming on this program, that this place, say, is not a good place. But you have helped our program to evolve. It may have started in a certain way. It may have been perceived in a certain way. But you and others have helped this program to evolve to the point where we were able to use this program last week to bring all of the contestants in one place and to really talk to them. As one brother, my countryman, the son of my countryman, told me today in commenting on what we did last week, he said, well, I noticed you do so. And I laughed, and he said, nothing is ever done without an objective in mind. And certainly the objective in mind is always to keep us united. It must be abusing out and so on, to keep us here and to say, ultimately, it is the ills of this society that we have to move out of the way, whether they emanate from internally or external. It is those ills that we have got to fight against. Your final thoughts, my brother?
The ills are many, and we must not create our own. We've got too much of them in the environment outside of our realm. So, therefore, I think the only way we can do this is as a one body with one voice and with one vision in mind, a better Guyana for all Guyanese. I think I've heard that said by both sides, the AFC and the PNC, by Aubrey Norton and Nigel Hughes. And I can only wish them the best. And I can say that for my part, by the grace of God, I will do my part, whether it's here as He is willing or in the public space. And, the rest will be taken from there. And I thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you so much. And I want to thank you, all the people. Congratulations are in order for Aubrey Norton. Congratulations are in order for Nigel Hughes. They have prevailed in their parties. Their members have spoken. And whether we like them individually or politically, is that their members have spoken, their supporters have spoken. And we have to respect that. The real work begins now. Like I said, our people have put their hands on Norton's head, and they have stretched forth the other hand to embrace Nigel. And I hope people like myself and our party are part of that embrace also. And I think if we recognize our strength when we are together, our strength when we present to our people a common cohesive imagery before them. It's an imagery that is pregnant with deep thought and deep love for them. Oh yes, Aubrey brings the party faithful along with him. Nigel brings his party faithful, but he reaches some of those in what we call the elites of the society, because let us phrase facts, he's from that. And so he's able to bring them along. And I think people like myself can speak to the Black consciousness people. People like myself can bring those young people who are ready, but they feel that we are not. I think people like myself can help to bring them along. What a beautiful journey it would be. Those of you who are cussing Nigel, stop it. Those of you who continue to cuss Aubrey, stop it. I may get a little bit of cuss, but I don't think I get so much cuss. So I won't tell you all to stop cussing me, because I don't think I get so much. But this cussing of Aubrey must stop. And this cussing of Nigel must stop. We've got to find ways and means to bring us together. If we can come together in a common front, in a common endeavor, we can show this country what unity can do. Ultimately, we are not going to have full unity without the representatives of our Indian Guyanese brothers and sisters. Whether we hate the PPP, at some point we have to deal with the PPP, because Indian people said they're their leaders. But that's not for now. For now, we have got to stop the bloodletting in the opposition camp. Stop cussing Norton. Stop cussing Nigel. It is not Nigel's fault if his father came out of the ghetto a little bit earlier than my father and Aubrey's mother and father. It is not Aubrey's fault if his father came out of the ghetto later than Nigel's father. It is not my fault if it was left to me to come out of the ghetto through education. We all came from the ghetto. We all came from down there. And we all are at a point now where we have a chance to rid our country of the wrongs. No single party has a monopoly. Some parties are bigger than other parties, and that must be respected. Some parties bring bigger vision, larger vision, and that must be respected. Some party bring rhetoric and the ability to lift our people and to make them see clearer through to the other side, and that must be respected. We have to find a way to work this thing together. As I was leaving the Burnham Foundation thing today, Amanza was going in and we hugged because she's my friend. I like her. And I asked her if she's okay. And she said, Doc, look at me, I'm okay. And I said to her, after today, there is always tomorrow. As I said, I have not spoken to Nigel at length yet. I intend to do so in the coming days. I have not spoken to Roycedale. I intend to do so in the coming days. I have not spoken to Sherrod. His birthday, happy birthday, Sherrod. I am not putting forward myself as a kingmaker because I don't even believe we need kings. But I'm saying that some of us who are a little bit away from the oozing of the blood that is being let, that is, our shirt is not soaked with the bad blood, we have to be able to find a way to put the gauze over the wounds and move on. I am serious. I am serious about where people who look like me, black people, where they are now. I don't like when people feel they can come into our community and buy our young people with a couple of dollars. We are worth more than that. I don't like when our own leaders ignore the cries of our people. I don't like that. And that is why I spend time with you all, to hold you all up, to hug you, and to say, I love you all because you all are black, you all are other things that I love, but I love you all first and foremost because you're black and beautiful and proud. If others can't do it, I will do it for them because it must be done. It is not lost on me that poverty stalks our land. Poverty among Africans, more among the indigenous people, among East Indians. And that poverty is a scourge. It is why my party has put forward an anti-poverty program to say we must use oil to rid our country of poverty. Because we feel that as poor people of all races, we've got to stand together. We've got to stand together. So I am pleading with you all, those of you who look to me for some kind of advice or guidance or whatever you look to me for, is to say, now is not the time to break ranks. Now is not the time to cuss out. We cuss out yesterday, hopefully so that we will not cuss out today. Keep your hand on Aubrey's head. Keep your arms around Nigel and me and others. Because with your warm embrace and your spiritual and sweet touch, we will come to our senses. It's not the people, it's not all you, our people, who got it wrong. It's we, the leaders, who have got it wrong. And we can only correct it when you all help us to correct it. With your love, with your passion, with your tears, tears of frustration, tears of joy. But as we who are familiar with the revolutionary aspects of the Christian doctrine, we know that it may be stormy tonight. It may be stormy tonight, but the morning will soon follow, and joy cometh in the morning. It is that morning, that beautiful shore, that I am committed to keeping you all focused on. It's not Nigel versus Aubrey. It is Nigel and Aubrey. Don't worry with the order. The order will work itself out. The order will work itself out. It's about all of us are in this together. And in case you didn't hear it, I am in it also. And I'm not outside of it. I am in it also. This is a team, and with your wishes and your prompting and your support, I want to be a part of the team. I'm not going to push myself in the team. If you all tell me that you all want me as part of the team, me and my party as part of the team, we are there and we are ready. Good night. I love you all unconditionally, not uncritically, unconditionally. We come in peace tonight. We leave in peace. And we come again tomorrow to lift up, lift our hands, our hearts up, and to say, here we come. We have beaten the worst, and the best of us is still to come. We ain't fearing, and I'm going to Brother Martin here. We ain't fearing no man tonight. We ain't fearing no woman tonight, because we've been to the mountaintop. Those in the PNC have been to the mountaintop this weekend, and the AFC and the rest of us watching, we've been to the mountaintop, and we've seen the promised land. Dr. King said he may not get there with you. I am saying I want to be there when we get to the promised land. And we're going to get to the promised land, because I want you all to be battle ready, because this is the fight. Not to be battle ready among ourselves, be battle ready against the forces who would like to keep us still behind. We ain't staying behind. And so, ready for battle, because without a fight, power concedes nothing. Love you all, love you all, love you all. Tomorrow, my brother in struggle, Henry Jeffrey, is going to be here. And you know, when Henry come on, it's cactus and pepper tomorrow night. See you all.